Hi everyone, my name is Geoffrey, um, and I gave a talk at PGC on Monday. And Simon H shared about that talk on LinkedIn, and quite a few of you asked for access to the presentation, but we want to do even better. So this is the presentation, and this is me presenting the talk again, and I've added like a few more slides to explain a bit more. So I'm Geoffrey Gilles. I'm a game lead at Space Ape Games. I've been at the company for almost 10 years, anniversary in 6 weeks, and I've worked on many games, be dev games, be global launch games, live games, and then also games that never made it to launch. The two of my babies are one Fastlane, and then the second one Beatstar. I've been part of the early dev team on both games and then brought those games to global launch. I'm here today to talk about Chrome Valley Customs. This is our most recently global launch game. It's a puzzle game, and global launched end of June. If you've never played Chrome Valley Customs, this is the pitch. There are like many car fans, 260 million in the US and in the EU, and on mobile there are also like many puzzle fans, as you probably know. Mashry is a big genre, but yeah, the team, the early team working on Chrome Valley Customs, I was not part of that team. When they did the research about 2 years ago, they realized that many of those puzzle fans are male players, and that they didn't have a cool match-3 puzzle game really targeted for them, for that like male demographic. And this is where the appeal of cars, that really big market size, and then the appeal of match-3 kind of like merged, and then literally merged, and then gave birth to Chrome Valley Customs. Those are App Store screenshots. And then Chrome Valley is a match-3 puzzle and decorate game. It's rooted in that car fantasy, but really in the car fantasy, it's about car restoration fantasy, and then players get to play cool match-3 levels. They're like garage themed, and then interact with those rusted cars, broken cars, and then making those cars look beautiful. The game was global launch end of June, so that's about 8 months, and then since then we've been releasing about 200 levels every month, and we've learned plenty when it comes to match-3 campaign balancing. And this is what the talk is about. It's about like match-3 campaign balancing. If this is a subject you don't care about, stop listening now. But if you want to hear more about our journey, and then how we built some cool tools to balance this campaign, then stick around and listen to this presentation. So the challenge with match-3 and match-3 campaign balancing is how can we balance effectively multiple thousands of levels. My background is finance, and when I was in finance, I was doing also portfolio management. And then if you think about a portfolio, is trying to optimize the risk and then maximize the return and minimize the risk out of that whole portfolio. Thinking about match-3 campaign, it's the same. We're trying to maximize the return and then minimize the churn across the whole campaign. And they're like hundreds, thousands. Like we have 2,000 levels now of individual levels, and all of those levels, they need to be improved one by one, but they also interact between each other. And then the challenge is like, how can we optimize the whole? What's unique about match-3 is that the match-3 content is that it is content that can and needs to be rebalanced constantly. Chose this book because the keywords are right. We want to be active. That's the main one, and then being active means that we'll profit more. What makes match-3 quite unique is that the campaign is linear. So players are gonna play a level once. We never reuse a level. So once a level is played, that player is never going to play the level. So the level can be changed, and the next player has never played that level, which means it's a brand new experience. So we have way more freedom when it comes to changing the balance, and that's unique. Give you like that's on one end. On the other end, if I think about BeatStar, on BeatStar, the beat maps, so the notes layout. If the music team would be changing those on a regular basis, our players would really hate that, because the goal of BeatStar of like playing a song is actually to try to master the song, and then that needs to be static. Like it's like mastering that static piece of content. So the beat maps are super rarely rebalanced. So yeah, this makes I guess balancing more challenging, but also like more important when it comes to match 3 campaign, which I think makes this this topic and then the tools we've built even more important. Some basic terminology for you to understand the rest of the presentation. So the first one is churn. You probably know churn. But when we think about churn, we think about churn on a given level. So what's again unique with match 3 is because the structure of the campaign is linear. We can aggregate all of our KPIs by campaign level, and we do that. Whereas on most games, the KPI would be aggregated either by day or by tenure. So here we aggregate by level, by campaign level, and then the churn is the percentage of players that churn on a given level. EGP is that spend dimension. It's an acronym that means end game purchase. It's a percentage of players that do that, and most of the spend on a match 3 game is done on buying extra moves, because that's most of the value. Players are stuck in the level, and then they want to beat the level, but they don't want to replay the level 100 times, and then they just buy extra moves. And when I was saying like we're trying to, with this portfolio / campaign, to minimize the churn, maximize the EGP, like those are like the two big vectors in terms of like KPIs. And then two more like keywords. One is APS. So if you see APS anywhere, it means attempts per success, and it's the number of times a level has to be played to be succeeded. So if the APS is 5, then on average the level has to be played 5 times to be succeeded. If the APS is 8, then it's 8 times, and then having to play a level 8 times versus 5 times means that the level is harder. So it's a proxy for difficulty. And then the curve is just a sequence, the difficulty sequence. And you'll see some curves in a minute. The curve is really important when it comes to match 3 campaign balancing. And yeah, we went from nothing or barely nothing and a few hundred levels, and since global launch we've been adding 200 levels every month, and we're planning to do that for the foreseeable future. And we've also built some cool tools to balance all of that. Like we currently have 2,000 levels. In 1 year we'll have 4,000 levels, and those have to be like constantly like rebalanced and improved now. So 3 tools that I advise anyone that's ever working or will ever work on a match 3 game to build is: the first one is on curve optimization. The second one is level reworks, and the third one is to be able to do campaign A/B testing. I'm going to talk about the first tool and the second tool, and then this is the PGC presentation, and it was supposed to be in 20 minutes. So yeah, I didn't have time to talk about the third tool. But if you have questions, just ask them online, and I'll try to answer. So first tool, on curve optimization. This is the bedrock. This is really important, and it really unlocks the team. So like conceptually, a campaign, a match 3 campaign, is one linear, because it's a sequence of levels and it's linear, and players are playing from level 5 to level 10, and then so it's like incremental. but like also two, we assume, but now we have also like data to back it up, that there was like an optimal structure, and that structure, that difficulty sequence, is what we call the target APS. So target APS, target difficulty sequence, means the same, and there is an optimal one, and what we want is, because we have full control over that linear experience, we want all players to go through that optimal experience. Like I like making music. It's kind of like a song. Songs are linear, and then they have like highs and lows, and then it creates dynamism, and it's exactly the same with a match 3 campaign. We're trying to make a really good song by having the best curve. So that's the blue line there. The actual curve doesn't have that exact shape, but it goes up and down. And the other dimension with match 3 is that the levels are really random. So when players play the level, even if we intended the level to be at a certain APS level, when they play the level, the APS based on that first balance might be different, and it's often really different. And that's the live APS curve. So level 500 played, the actual APS is 3. Our intent optimal curve would put it at 5, and then our job then is to try to tweak the level to get it to 5. What we did, like with this tool, but like with all the tools we've been building with match 3, is to really think about usability. We've had this journey over the last 7 months where some tools had poor usability, and then if they were not used, so have tools to be like easy to use and easy to read, and then the second one, have them scale with the amount of data. We have 2,000 levels now, gonna, like I said, 4,000 in a year, 6,000 in 2 years. So the tool has been built in a spreadsheet, in a Google sheet, and it's a supercharged sheet. This is the overview. It's kind of like that super high level summary, and all the columns are information about the level, and then all the rows are the levels themselves. So if we would expand that spreadsheet, it would have like 2,000 rows, and it has loads of information. That's really cool to look at. In the context of doing this on-curve balancing, like all the levels are constantly on a daily basis rated as either being too easy, on target, or too hard. And what we want to do is we want to tweak those levels to bring them back on target. Like ideally everything is on target because we have proved that we found this optimal curve, and then we want everyone to experience the optimal curve now. And what we did, which I think is quite unique from what I've heard in the industry, is like we pushed it a step further. It's fairly easy to flag levels as being too easy, too hard, but like we push it further where we fully automated the process. So this is another view that's kind of like filters levels that need to be rebalanced because the live APS is not on target APS, and it automatically says or calculates the number of moves based on some rules we have under the hood that need to be added or subtracted. So if a level is too hard, we're gonna add some moves. If the level is too easy, we're gonna remove some moves. So in this case, yeah, too hard, plus 1 move, too easy, minus one move. And it's just a case of clicking a few buttons, and then it's in the CMS of our game. We push it to Git, we push it to live, and then the game gets rebalanced. So yeah, the next slide that next slide that I wanted to show is, and it's connected to the previous one. This is a view by level, but we also have built some views by groups of levels. And in this grouping, it's about 20 levels. And then both views are really interesting to look at because, like I said, this is a portfolio. We're trying to optimize the whole, and then to optimize the whole, we need to have the best levels, but we also need to optimize the interaction between levels. The second tool we've built is, so once we had that foundation, like the first tool, is to be able to like rework levels. And like reworking a level means that we assume, and I always assume that a V1 is not perfect. It can't be perfect. Like nothing is perfect V1. And then what we need to do is to have the tools to identify levels that are performing badly, and then to reworking those levels, and then to prove with data, with the before and after, with that first version and that second version, that the level has improved. So in this image, you can see this is level V1, and then in here is the level V2. So going back to that sheet, going back to our principles of like really trying to automate everything, we use the churn and we use the EGP, and then we do some statistical analysis under the hood on all the levels, and we give each level a score in terms of both EGP and like both churn and EGP. So a level can either be bad, okay, or good, and then that information gets summarized even further into like a priority system. Like so looking at an example. So level 344, it's target APS 6. It is an actual APS of 7.35. It is too hard, and what we see is that the churn on that level is 0.5%, and the EGP is 13.8%. Based on that analysis, we estimate that the churn is bad. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but yeah, it's bad. And EGP is okay. So this becomes the signal to say, okay, level 344. If we wanted to improve that level, there are like some churn gains to be had there. What's been tricky, if you build a similar pipeline, is to track the before and after. We currently are not A/B testing every V2, V3, V4. We do before and after, and it's proven to be faster, but also gives us enough of a signal to say the level has improved. And then yeah, that's been really tricky. So if you build something like this, be good friends with your like data team. And to show you like an example, this is level 455, and level 455 is a target APS of 8. Used to be a live APS of 7.5, became an APS of 6.62. So APS went down with the rework, because when we reworked, the level is being changed. The churn went from 0.21% to 0.13%, so big drop in terms of churn, and EGP went from 20.5% to 24.47%. So gain in EGP. Gain in EGP. Did I say EGP before? Big drop of churn, increase of EGP. And then again, like applying that statistical like analysis, before we flagged that the level was bad in terms of churn for that APS. Now it's a good one, and it was already like good in terms of EGP, and it stayed good. It has improved a little bit. You might have noticed that the APS has dropped slightly from the pre to post, and from that V1 to that V2, and you might assume, and you would assume correctly, that this also would decrease the churn, because there's a correlation between making the level harder and then having players churn more. So, and this is completely right. So some of the churn drop there can also be attributed to the APS decreasing by 0.9, about 0.9 like absolute amount. And this is why going a step beyond, just the absolute values, but like really applying, in this case, some of the analysis we do really helps, because it allows us to, with more confidence, say that our level has been improved or not. This is the level before the rework and then after the rework. If you look at the level on the left, the opening space, it's a small opening space, but it's also surrounded with many blockers that are like hard to destroy. So the experience for that level is the player is gonna match, uh, but the blockers are gonna be hard to destroy. So the player is gonna be stuck into a like, small opening space for longer, and then the odds of the player being stuck there increase, and that creates like frustration. So we had the signal, which is like, oh, this level is bad in terms of churn. Okay, in terms of it was good in terms of EGP, but bad in terms of churn. That signal is used by a mastery game designer, and they can now apply the like mastery knowledge, but we have also like more deep dive like metrics that I'm not showing here to look at and really to assess the level and then to change the level. In this instance, the person that changed this level understood everything that I've just said, and they changed the opening board and replaced those blockers by blockers that are more easily destroyed, and that opens up the top board like faster. And then as the top board opens faster, like more matches, more cascades, and then the middle probably also opens up like faster because the goal has been reduced from 50 to 42 for the cassette, and then there is more progress in the level, and that just makes like for a better experience, which has reduced churn and then also increased EGP. And then what's really cool is we have screenshots for all the level we rework, and then we can look at them and really try to build that understanding of how to make better like mastery levels. And then when we do V2s, we have this outcome matrix. So a level that's been V2'd can either be better compared to V1, or can be mixed, no impact, or it can be worse. So some levels are being worse. If the churn increased and the GP decreased, that's worse, and it happens. It's rare, but it happens, and we don't want to keep a V2 that's made the campaign worse. We're trying to aim for the green zone, and I'll be showing results in a bit. But yeah, like some of the levels are in this diagonal where it's gray zone. It's like churn has decreased, EGP has decreased. Should we keep the change? Should we not keep the change? When this happens, we do case by case. So some of the results, like one, we're like saving countless hours of manual but high value repetitive work, many words, but what's crucial in there, it's like it's high value, and this is all that like being on curve, having the live APS be on target APS, it's high value. We really need that, but it's also repetitive because it needs to be done 3 times a week, and if it's manual, it takes many hours. It used to take our mastery team, not the whole team, but like part of the team, like half a day, multiple times a week just to do that. And now it just takes a few minutes, which is really cool. And that frees up time and brain power, brain space to do more complex work, more enjoyable work. So the mastery team and the product team, we've been like, and the data team, we've been working really closely to run some pretty cool A/B tests, and we've recently like found another optimal curve which has increased ARPU by 10%, just by changing the curve. So we'll take that, and then the third result that I wanted to call out is that 35% of the levels that we do rework fall into that green section, like those 3 squares, and we keep them, and it has led to a total churn reduction of 1.23%, which has increased retention, but also while the churn was reduced, EGP was increased, and I guess you might say, oh, it's 1.23%, is that much? Like, one, it's really hard to like reduce churn / increase retention. If you've ever worked on a dev game or a live game, if you've tried, it's really, 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 really hard. So it's like, this is meaningful. This is just by reworking levels. It's practically free. It's just content, and so like we wanna have that free launch. And then 2, it's 35% of the levels we've reworked so far, and then when I look back at the number of levels we've reworked, like we've really started to rework them at a faster pace as this tool was being built and it was being used, and then it was being improved. So we were working more and more levels, and then I expect that percentage to go up as we really learn how to rework levels. I had 2 tips that I didn't share during PGC, but I could quickly share with you now because this is not bound by 20 minutes. The first one is to separate your everyday metrics from your deep dive metrics. So yeah, like there's this temptation to have everything be at the same level when doing level analysis. What we've done, we use it more like a funnel. So at the top of the funnel there is everyday, and then if we have signals that a level is bad, then we can use the deep dive metrics to really understand the level and then how it needs to be improved. And the second one, yeah, you've seen the sheet. Showed you just a few like snippets of the sheet. It's a pretty big sheet. I think it's the most complex sheet we have at SpaceApe, and it's really powerful because building with Google Sheets can be really, really powerful. So it's a sheet again that's connected to our warehouse, connected to our CMS, does a lot of automation, does a lot of data crunching, and then saves us a lot of time, but like brings a lot of like value. And then everyone on the Mastery team is using that sheet practically every day, and it's something we hadn't achieved while trying to build those tools using maybe something that's like fancier, like we're gonna do a Tableau Online and then everyone is gonna use those Tableau Online graphs. No, actually we tried and it was a lot worse. Where we're at is we have a document, or what we want in the future. We have this document where we have our Mastery design best practices. It's like the rules on how to make an amazing level. And then we have the A/B test knowledge. We have the deep dive knowledge. Like our analytics team has done like amazing deep dives and we've learned so much. And then we have all of the V2 optimization learnings. And what we want to do is like we want to create this like virtuous cycle where all of the data knowledge backs up best practices on how to make really good levels. And then questions we have on how to make good levels can inform either like a targeted A/B test or a deep dive, and really create this virtuous cycle so that our best practices get more and more informed, backed by data, to ultimately have this Bible on how to make an amazing level first try that has a really low amount of churn and then maximizes the EGP. So that's where we're going next. And I think this was my last slide. Yes. So I hope you've learned something. If you want to connect, I'm obviously on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn. I hope you appreciate this talk, like we recorded talk. And yeah, I hope to maybe talk to you one day. Thank you. Bye.